My fondest memory? Well, I'll tell you, I don't know. I had a lot of good memories there, even though, there's a lot of deaths and stuff. Well, we were driving to Pennsylvania from Youngstown, and Pearl Harbor came on the news that they got bombed. And of course, at that time that was 1941. I was still in school. But my other brothers weren't. My older brother went to the Air Force, and he was 18 months older than I was. And I graduated in 42. Then I got drafted after that, and I went to basic training in Fort Eustis, Virginia, and I went to I was in the 129th Anti-Aircraft Unit. We had radar units and 90 millimeter guns, and we worked in fact, around this area, like Baltimore and that. We used to fire over Chesapeake Bay, practice
Sure.
the airplane flying, and we're shooting the 90 millimeter gun. And then they shipped me to Fort Bliss, Texas, and we were all 18, 19-year-old guys. When we got to Fort Bliss, we got into a bunch of guys that were 35 to 38, the older guys, which I didn't mind. I thought that was great, because I'm going with some older. These guys smart. They've been in in the service. We were there for 3 months. Then we got on a train, ended up in Camp Shanks, New York. That's just past New Jersey. And Christmas Eve, my outfit, we climbed on an old Dutch boat down at the harbor, and we pulled out of the New York, headed, well, naturally to England. We're going to Europe. My group, and it was there's only 2,500 guys on that boat, an old Dutch boat.
It's about a battalion.
In fact,
What was the name of that boat?
huh?
What was the name of that?
The name of the boat was Christian Huygens, but I couldn't find it. They can't find it on the internet.
Yeah.
It might be there somewhere. Old Dutch boat. I couldn't eat, couldn't take a bath even, that salt water, So wake up next morning, we're out on the Atlantic all by ourselves. I'm looking around because we're pulling submarine duty, looking for submarines. The Germans were knocking them all always out. So after about 5 days going to the Atlantic, towards England, I got up the next morning, went out on deck, and my God, there was ships everywhere. Battleships, Liberty boats, everybody's going to Europe. So I felt so good. We got a lot of company, We're not alone. So it took 13 days. I got to Scotland in January the 3rd. So figure it out, it's about a 13-day trip. We landed in Glasgow, and we got on a train going down through Scotland to England, and the bombs were falling, and the stuff was burning. The Germans were bombing London all the time. So then we got settled down in Folkestone, England. They bivouacked us over there, slept on the cold ground, I got pneumonia. They stuck me in an English hospital over there for 2 weeks. And you know what's funny? They don't give me credit for service for the 2 weeks that I was sick. I didn't make myself sick. but anyhow, I don't argue that. uh, and so we were in England from January the 3rd to D-Day. Well, when we were in England, they gave us all new equipment.
January the 3rd, 43?
1944.
44, oh, okay.
1944. So we were there, and I'm watching our bombers. They always went out in daylight to bomb, you know, France and Germany. And I'd look at those beautiful planes going out in formation. You know how they are?
Yeah.
I'd look at them. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd be watching them coming back. One here, one there. This one of the motors wasn't working. We lost a lot of stuff. But they went every day and bombed over the bearing factories in Germany or whatever, you know. So we trained in England for that 5 or 6 months, and we got all new equipment. We got new tractors, and we got new guns, 90 millimeters, you know. 4 to a unit. I was in Baker Battery. We had 4 of those guns. We had 4 tractors. And I started driving one of those. One of those tractors looks like a tank, but it doesn't have the turret.
Right.
It's got the windshield.
But the M3 chassis?
Yeah.
Like a Sherman?
Yeah, it's got the tracks and the sprockets. Now, the motor come out of Canton, Ohio, you know, Hercules motor. And so I'd be driving that. It had 2 levers, you know, right, left, brakes. And so we were there till when D-Day happened, which we didn't go in the first day, because, you know, they sent the airborne in there. They sent the gliders. They used to send a plane towing 2 gliders or something.
Right.
You know, they lost a lot of guys with those too, but that's the way the war was in. We lost like 400,000 guys in Normandy, on the beach. That was a tough beachhead. Well, after they called us in to go, it was after the first day. I'm driving this truck. They gave me the waterproofing stuff to put on the motor of the vehicle. If you can understand, I had to waterproof all the wires, spark plugs,
Right.
and the exhaust pipe had to be extended about
Right.
8 foot in the
Like
air.
a fording kit.
So when I drove it off of the ship and went down into the water to drive it onto the beach, you know, Normandy and I thought, well, I hope I did a good job, because I don't want that motor to quit. I'm towing a 15-ton gun, and I hit that at North Atlantic, you know,
Yeah.
and down in we went, and well, like, I'd say about 200 yards into the water and running onto the beach. And I drove right up through the little town there, St. Mary Glees. If you went there today, there's a huge American cemetery there, all them crosses. Then we went down through there, St. Lo and Mortain, little towns. And then I was with General Bradley's First Army at that time. In France, General Patton came in, Third Army. They transferred us from First Army to Third Army, which was good. I didn't mind. Well, you know, Patton, he was a fighter. You don't have any Pattons.
Well, he was there for a reason.
Oh boy. Well, what happened was we were going so fast, we'd pull into a position, set them down to 4 guns. You know, you set those guns down like a baseball field. First, second, third, and fourth. The radar unit would be in the middle, because we had a radar to track the planes and stuff. That gun we had was like a normal pistol, 2,700 foot per second. It wasn't just an artillery shell, it was a rifle. Anyhow, we got onto the beachhead, everything. We start going down, and towns are burning. You know, the war was going on. And we'd go so far and then set up the guns whenever we ordered. Then we'd move up in a couple days. Well, I don't know. It didn't take long. I didn't think for the, you know, for what we did. Uh, Not only that, I had a younger brother got in. His name was Victor, and he told our mother, he said, "I'm going to find my brother over there." It brings up the other, no?